Right. The underwriting process, this has been all over the place. What's involved? There's a medical questionnaire. They'll be looking at, based on the information you provide on that, they'll be also looking at your resident history, your driver's record. They're really looking at how you answer those questions, which should be truthful. But based on those questions, it determines if you have a follow-on health exam or not. Also, ability to pull your current medical records from your current primary care provider. And as far as how long, that has ranged from a week and a half to having a policy delivered, approved and delivered, to 8 weeks. And the variable in there most of the time is access to your provider's medical records. A lot of times, that's the unknown variable. A lot of us, the agent or even the client, has very little ability to help that process along. That individual where it took 8 weeks, we kept on calling the provider's office. They said they had it. They said they'll be working on it. There was some back and forth, but that has been the biggest variable and really out of the hands of the insurance companies or the agent itself. Just be aware of that. Income documentation. So we also had a recent lesson learned on that you'll hear the $10 million mark is kind of that magical limit where below that, as far as a death benefit, stated income documentation is not required. It requires a verification signed by the agent and the client below 10 mil. However, if there's something that doesn't make sense, so say, for example, the client is a janitor, per se, and they're trying to pull a $6 million death benefit policy, that's going to raise a lot of flags. And at that point, what we're seeing is the underwriters asking for tax returns to show that even though maybe that janitor is married to a real estate investor and has a large net worth, they're looking at really the annual income of the individual. And I even stated that person is married to someone who has multiple extensive real estate portfolio, and then the tax returns, they're going to look for the AGI on there or the gross income numbers to match the claim. So just be aware that we can kind of push the limits, but it's you're applying for life insurance, and you would want the companies to do proper underwriting because that's their risk that they're taking. Again, I think it can get frustrating, but basically part of the company, you can appreciate that they're doing their due diligence correctly.
Oh, that example sounds really familiar. My wife is not a janitor. But yeah, what do you do with if a lot of the people are business owners and they're really good at making their income go down to nothing? They're a really good passive real estate investor and their AGI is $25,000 at that point.
So ahead of time, we do a cover letter, and we can present a story just ahead of time, and it may all make sense. And as long as we can present that story, it'll go through. I think doing it upfront that way is a lot more beneficial and believable than kind of after the fact and coming in and saying, oh, but this and this. That's a big lesson learned. When we have those type of policies that we're trying to get through, we really want to just create a strong story. We'll write a cover letter, provide maybe some documentation ahead of time just to show, and it'll be more favorable that way and more likely to get approved.
And then going back to the other question just a little while ago on putting the policy on your kid or your little baby, think about getting it on your spouse, especially if your spouse is a woman, because women live longer than guys. They're just cheaper to insure too.